I am an American soldier.
I'm a warrior and a member of a team.
I serve the people of the United States and live the Army values.
I will always place this first.
I will never accept defeat.
I will never accept defeat.
I will never quit.
I will never leave a fallen comrade.
I am disciplined.
I am disciplined.
Physically and mentally tough.
Trained and proficient in my warrior tasks and drills.
I always maintain my arms, my equipment, and myself.
I am an expert and I am a professional.
I stand ready to deploy, engage, and destroy the
enemies of the United States of America in close combat.
I am a guardian of freedom and the American way of life.
I am an American soldier.
I am an American soldier.
I am an American soldier.
There's strong, and there's Army Strong. See what it takes at GoArmy.com.
Sometimes riders feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
Hey folks, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, Dr. Richard Harden. We are on the same mission, which is waking up America. We just have different paths. So stay tuned for some information on how you can keep up with Richard and all his work.
Visit Richard's website at raharden.com. That's the World Wide Web at RAHARDIN.com. At his website, you can see a summary of the 6 books he has written, where purchases may be made. He also has a link to 18 videos on YouTube and several blogs about Christian beliefs. If you prefer, visit Amazon.com/Kindle and type in Richard Harden to see and purchase his books.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps stand ready to defend the American way of life. The few, the proud, the Marines.
The following message contains a special offer for listeners of this station. Are you a man over 40? Are you constantly looking for the nearest bathroom? Do you wake up multiple times a night to use the bathroom? Right now, Perfect Prostate is sending out free bottles of their groundbreaking new formula to listeners of this station. Perfect Prostate Formula was developed by medical doctor Mitchell Fleischer, and its ingredients have been clinically studied to reduce your frequent nighttime bathroom visits and promote healthy urine flow. Right now, preferred customers get their first bottle of Perfect Prostate absolutely free. There's nothing to lose. Perfect Prostate is guaranteed to reduce that constant urge to use the bathroom, especially at night, and promote healthy urine flow. Don't wait. Call now for your free bottle. Just pay shipping and processing. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251. Supplies are limited. One free bottle per household. Call now. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
My name is Jessie. I'm a United States Special Forces widow. This gives me a unique perspective on the world around us. If you're willing to listen, I'll tell you how I see it, and I won't pull any punches. This is my POV, which stands for Point of View.
All right, this is Jessie. How y'all doing out there today? Sorry I missed you last night, but I had a major Army wife emergency. come up just as I was about to come on the air. So, I'm sorry. You know I love you guys dearly, but an emergency will always take priority. What had happened, and I'll tell you the quick overview. A military spouse whose husband was in the field, and I'm friends with her, had gone into labor. Well, she has 2 small children, and her water had just broken. She hadn't been feeling that strong contractions, and her water had just broken. So she picked up the phone and called me. And so I immediately sprung into action and got a couple other military spouses that live a little bit closer to her, because it takes a few minutes to get from one side of the base to the other. So I found a couple people that lived near her and sent them to her aid. I sent them to go, one person to go pick up her 2 younger children and take them to her house. I sent another one to go help her, and a third one to lock up and close up the house, and then deliver the keys to the hospital. So that's why and this literally, I got the word 10-15 minutes before I was supposed to be on the air with you. And my military family must always come first. You don't understand the support I have been given time and time again by my military family. So while I love you guys, and I'm sorry I had to bail last night, it was for a good cause. By the way, it's a boy. Now, on with the news of the world. So that was the happy news of the day. It's a boy. There's been lots of other developments and crazy things going on. There always seems to be. But today, being the day before the peaceful transfer of power, is no exception. And yes, I know the title of my show is The Calm Before the Transition. Well, I'm about to explain that one. And let's see, I've got a couple more things to say about the Manning pardon. I know I did a huge rant about it earlier in the week, but I wasn't at my peak, so we're going to do it again. And I've got some other interesting audio clips. And guess what? You know our military never stops. They never rest. They're always up to something. So they happen to have been busy overnight. I've got the update on that because Ash Carter decided rather than let someone else take care of it, of doing the announcement, it was his last day. He came to the podium himself to give the message. So that to me shows class. He could have easily just sent someone down. Said, oh, give him this update. But no. I'm busy packing up my desk. Give him the update. No, he came down to the podium himself. So that was pretty cool. So there's a few other things I wanted to cover. Of course, North Korea is up to something. Come on. When are they not? I mean, they always seem to be up to something. And I even have a couple of other announcements, but I'm not going to go into those yet. I've got to pull my thoughts together on exactly what I want to say and how I want to say them. But in the meantime, Scott Harvath, hope you're doing fantastic. Fighting the fight as you do every day. And for those of you who are new listeners to the show, Scott Harvath is a retired NYPD sergeant who is battling stage 4 esophageal cancer. He is an amazing man. You can follow him on Twitter at Scott Harvath. And very soon, rumor has it, that you'll be able to find the link to his Twitter feed and all that on the KLRN Radio website. I've heard it should be up, the page should be up by Monday. I've also heard, station manager Ann let me in on this one, our newsletter's coming out on Monday. What? You didn't know we had a newsletter? Well, it's coming out on Monday. So let's get started with the important DoD update. And let's take a listen to this, and you'll hear what our fantastic military was doing overnight.
Once again, thanks for being here. And I'm sorry for interrupting Peter's final briefing, but I wanted to come down here on my last day to provide an important update on what happened overnight in our campaign to deal ISIL the lasting defeat it deserves. First, in Libya, our Africa Command conducted airstrikes against 2 ISIL camps south of Sirte. Initial estimates indicate that the airstrikes killed more than 80 ISIL fighters, many of whom had converged there after fleeing from local partner forces who had cleared Sirte last month with our help. Importantly, these strikes were directed against some of ISIL's external plotters who were actively planning operations against our allies in Europe. So these were critically important strikes for our campaign and a clear example of our enduring commitment to destroy ISIL's cancer, not only in Iraq and Syria, but everywhere it emerges.
All right, so we got 80 more dead terrorists in Sirte. That's a pretty cool thing. And yes, this briefing goes on, and you know what? In honor of Ash Carter's last day, we're going to listen to everything he had to say about this at the conference, because he only goes on for a few minutes. So let's continue with this.
While we struck in Libya, our local partners in Iraq, with our advice and assistance, managed to secure all critical areas in eastern Mosul. As they now prepare to clear the western part of Mosul, I'm confident that ISIL's days in Mosul are numbered. Meanwhile, in Syria, our local partners continue to converge down on Raqqa, and I'm also confident that they will soon have ISIL's so-called capital isolated. These most recent events are a direct result of the deliberate actions we've taken since 2015 to accelerate our coalition military campaign plan that Chairman Dunford and I put together. And they're a reminder to ISIL and many others that while the world doesn't rest from the transition here in Washington, neither does the Department of Defense. I leave this job. I'm certain that the United States and our coalition and local partners will continue to build on the results we've achieved and ultimately destroy the fact and the idea of a state based on ISIL's barbaric ideology.
Like I said, even while many other people take the day off, they're planning vacations, they're finally breathing a sigh of relief, the Department of Defense doesn't have the day off. That entire department never rests. There is someone in the Pentagon 24/7. And just as a perfect example of that, even as the building was on fire on 9/11, There were employees sat at their desks and continued to work. What? Yes. Even as the building burned, there were employees stayed at their post to protect this country. So like I said, the Department of Defense doesn't take the day off. They never have, they never will. Alright, reminder to all, I am in the chat room over on KLRNRadio.com. And you are more than welcome to come hang out with me. And on that note, let's go back and see what the last few remarks that Ash Carter had. I promise he doesn't go on for too long.
Generated significant momentum over the last year and a half, and I'm confident that going forward, Jim Mattis and his team, as well as General Dunford, all our servicemen and women, joined by their coalition and local partners, will deliver ISIL the lasting defeat it deserves. Many of you have covered this military campaign and this department with great diligence, and I know you'll continue to do so. So I want to thank you all very much. And I have time for one question, I guess, Peter says. And Bob, as our dean, you get the parting question.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. On the Libya action, how do you respond to those who would say that this only highlights the failure of the administration to contain ISIL, given that they're still there?
Well, ISIL has little nests, sometimes of people who rebranded themselves, who were there already, and received inspiration and sometimes support. And so it's always been part of our campaign to destroy ISIL everywhere we find it. Afghanistan's another place, so this is a continuation of the plan. Libya, there's a civil war in Libya, and that fundamentally is the reason why ISIL is able to get a foothold there. The Libyans don't like foreigners, and I think if they could settle their own internal differences, which is a political and diplomatic matter, they'd themselves make quick work of ISIL. But we did these strikes, as we've done other actions in CERT and everything else we do there, at the request and with the permission of the GNA there, and we did this as well. But we need to strike ISIL everywhere they show up. And that's particularly true in view of the fact that we know that some of the ISIL operatives in Libya were involved in plotting attacks in Europe to our friends and allies there. And so external operations, wherever they arise, from ISIL or any of its branches.
Were those imminent threats in Europe?
Well, they certainly are people who, Bob, were actively plotting operations in Europe, and may also have been connected with some attacks that have already occurred in Europe. So as always, external operations are a very important part of the reason to destroy ISIL, as well as to wipe them out of Libya itself. But your fundamental question about Libya is as long as the conditions of civil war are there, the Libyans don't have the unity. If they did, I think they themselves could make short work of ISIL.
So, they got 80 out of CERT Libya. That's an awesome thing. Got just another minute or so, and we are going to give him the honor on this show. Got about 45 more seconds, maybe 50. I don't have it keyed up that closely. And we're going to give him the honor on this show of letting him say his last words.
Now, under these conditions, our help is invaluable, and we're providing it. So thank you all very much. I really appreciate it. And now I'll turn things over to Peter, and he's prepared to give you much more information in detail on this particular strike.
Okay, why use a B-2 bomber?
Well, Peter will tell you. Peter will tell you. It was a decision made by the commanders. It was the best capability to use. There are other options. We have a vast armamentarium, but this is what the commanders chose, and I think Peter's prepared to explain that in some detail. That was his commander's reason.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank
you all very much.
Sir, thank you for coming, and thank you for the opportunity for me to be able to do this on your behalf. Appreciate it. No, you're laughing, Eric Rosenbach, but I'm serious. Thank you, sir. It's been an honor and a privilege.
I couldn't do this job without.
Okay, so there you have Ash Carter's last statement to the press as Secretary of Defense. I think that was a pretty awesome way to go out. Announcing 80 more dead terrorists. You go, Department of Defense. You go. Now, Obama, yesterday, I'm going to switch gears just for a moment to the Manning commutation. And it's important to note it was a sentence commutation, not a pardon. And I'll explain why in just a moment.
First of all, let's be clear. Chelsea Manning has served a tough prison sentence. So the notion that the average person who was thinking about disclosing vital classified information would think that it goes unpunished, I don't think would get that impression from the sentence that Chelsea Manning has served.
Okay, so Manning has served a, quote, tough prison sentence. We'll discuss that in a minute, but let's listen to the second clip I have.
It has been my view that given she went to trial, that due process was carried out, that she took responsibility for her crime, that the sentence that she received was very disproportionate relative to what other leakers had received, and that she had served a significant amount of time, that it made sense to commute and not pardon her sentence.
Okay, he commuted the sentence. He did not pardon Manning. Now, let me go over something here. And I feel it's important, since I do cover the military news here on KLRNRadio.com, to mention this. Okay? I feel it's important. Very important. Army Private Chelsea Manning, the National Security Leaker and transgender soldier, will lose her entitlement to health care benefits under the terms of the sentence that President Obama commuted. Obama's commutation Tuesday will allow Manning to leave the Army's prison at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas on May 17th, about 6 years before she would have been eligible for parole. However, the Army has been providing her with treatment for gender dysphoria, including hormone treatments. She had been a candidate for gender reassignment surgery, which would have been paid for under the Pentagon's new policy for transgender troops. But the terms of the 35-year sentence that the court-martial imposed includes a dishonorable discharge, which the commutation did not affect. Repeat, the commutation does not affect the dishonorable discharge. If Private Manning is discharged with a dishonorable discharge, she will lose her entitlement to military benefits, including gender transition care at military medical treatment facilities. Manning can appeal the discharge determination. If that appeal is denied, and I expect it, the Manning will file an appeal, but I expect it will be denied, Manning will then be discharged dishonorably from the Army and receiving so this means that she won't be eligible for to receive benefits from the Veterans of VA department. And the VA has been providing treatment to veterans for gender dysphoria for several years. Manning's fight for treatment has galvanized supporters of transgender rights, and I'm fine with her getting the treatment while she's in prison. But I'm also glad that her sentence was commuted, not pardoned. So that's one good thing we have. The sentence, she wasn't pardoned. Had he pardoned her, it would have affected the dishonorable discharge. Now, excuse me, Mr. Frog is trying to make his usual appearance. Ash Carter had said on Wednesday he had opposed commuting the prison sentence of convicted leaker Manning, who was convicted in 2013 of espionage and other crimes for leaking classified information while deployed in Iraq. That was not my recommendation, Carter said in an interview. I recommended against it, but the president has made his decision. So, and the 7 years includes time that was spent locked up before conviction. All right. I'm glad that at least Manning will not be able to receive veterans' benefits. I'm glad. I wish Obama had left well enough alone. However, at least it was a commutation, which I don't agree with either. I'm sorry. Manning deserved the 35 years. In fact, in my mind, Manning deserved to be found guilty of treason, put up against a wall, and face a firing squad. Or lethal injection. Manning could have their choice. I'm never sure whether to refer to Manning as Bradley or Chelsea. I know Chelsea is Manning's preferred name, but I covered it so much while I followed the story so much and had Bradley Manning burned into my brain. That's why I often just refer to Manning as Manning, because the last name didn't change. All right. We are at the bottom of the hour, and it is time to pay them bills and take that commercial break. And I will see you on the other side.
In these
these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from the critique of the short story through to line edits on full-length novels. We also offer assistance on generating writers' bios for your websites. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
I've owned my company for 14 years now, and I can tell you that payroll is a 4-letter word. I hate doing it. It eats up hours I don't have, and it costs me money I could be saving. But my accountant's too expensive, and I'm not sure who to call. But I know I need help.
We're Paychex, and we take all the hassles out of small business payroll. We save you time and money. It's easy. Call, fax, or give us your payroll information securely online, and we take care of the rest. We calculate the correct taxes, manage payments and direct deposits. We even send out your checks. Payroll doesn't need to be a 4-letter word anymore. We're so sure that we can save you time and money that we'll give you a month's payroll free. Just for calling 877-757-2782. Get 1 month's payroll for free. Call Paychex right now. 877-757-2782. That's 877-757-2782.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Right. Thank you for hanging in there with me over that commercial break. Oh, yes, I've got my show prep. I know I didn't let you hear it at the beginning of the show, but it's right here. Come on, you don't think I'd run on here unprepared, although I have in the past, but I do try and avoid it. Now, I've got a couple of intriguing side note stories before we get down to my favorite sort of topic. Oh, excuse me. And yes, I do have a cold. All right, moving right along. Germany's extreme right challenges guilt over Nazi past. All right. The right. Okay, Germany, as you know. Okay, maybe some of you, my listeners, don't, because I actually got an email from a listener who didn't know the basic history that I referred to. So we're going to break this down a little bit further than I usually do. Just a little bit. Promise. Germany was the country that gave the world Hitler. Okay? Is that clear enough? Germany was the country that gave the world Adolf Hitler. And what did Adolf Hitler do? He exterminated 6 million Jews and several million other people just because of who they were. He had a desire to form a perfect person, a perfect race, a master race. That's something I approve. In fact, something I think is definitely deplorable. If there was ever a person on this planet who deserved to be called deplorable, it would be Adolf Hitler. All right. There are mainstream parties in Germany have long eschewed charisma-driven politics and have avoided shows of overt nationalism. But that leaves an opening, for a populist party like Alternative Movement. One second here, I've just got to adjust my sound settings. I heard my mic tripping out a little on you. Alright, so if they're not doing overly nationalist, which, no offense, I think everybody should be God, country, family, God, family, country, something along those lines. A little hard to get across, but much needed. So they've long stayed away from it. And that left room for alternate parties that had alternate values. And Mr. Hawke challenged the collective national guilt over the war that has restrained German politics for 3 generations. The only people in the world to plant a monument of shame in the heart of its capital. He added that Germans had the mentality of a totally vanquished people. And he went on to say that this has brought about a country of people who don't, I mean, he said a lot of things, but he said the actions that were taken in the past in this country by Adolf Hitler and the Nazis were deplorable. However, he also said to remember the millions of victims of the Nazis is no weakness. Baiting the helpless to promote yourself is weakness. And I agree. You need to learn from history, but if you allow that history to be a weight around your ankle, and it's only going to pull you down. And pulling you down can never be a good thing. Pulling you down will always be bad. You can't swim with a weight tied to your ankle. You have to lose the weight. Now, of course, the chairman of the Green Party for the state of Savani on Twitter called for the speech to be checked for possible violations of anti-incitement laws. He accused Mr. Hawke of saying things that violated the spirit of the Constitution in the style of National Socialism. The Central Council of Jews in Germany, in a statement, called the comments deeply deplorable and fully unacceptable. I mean, this was not a popular person. He is, but he isn't. Mr. Hawke's comments even drew rebuke from the chairwoman of the Alternative Party for Germany, who said they were out of line and straining the party. Ms. Petrie and Mr. Hawke have been locked in a power struggle for months now on how far right to position the party, which was originally founded on an anti-Euro platform. The party is polling at 15% ahead of some mainstream parties, and it demonstrates that German nationalist politics can find a foothold in unexpected places. So, while some of his comments may be not so politically correct, at least he had the courage to speak out. Alright, moving right along. The highest-ranking French general in the NATO alliance said Tuesday that parts of the organization have indeed become obsolete, seemingly echoing the latest criticism hurled at the institution by President-elect Donald Trump. So, and just as a reminder, do you know how many times NATO has been called on to act? How many times? Once. What? You didn't know it had only been that Article 5 of NATO had only been enacted once? I can tell you the date. September 11th, 2001. We called them because we had been attacked. We didn't know that day who had attacked us. NATO has done some recent adaptations, like creating an intelligence office and then streamlining the sharing of intelligence among the allies. But these were in works long before Trump ever spoke. NATO's lumbering overhaul took a big step forward at the July 2016 Warsaw Summit, where agreement was reached to deploy thousands of troops for the first time to Eastern Europe. And that includes the 4,000 troops that are in Poland right now. The NATO general commented on this as the chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Joseph Dunford, met with other NATO leaders discussing the war in Ukraine, Russian aggression, and counterterrorism. NATO's obsolescence, such as it is, hardly comes from neglecting counterterrorism. Alliance troops had been long involved in counterterrorism campaigns, training Iraqi forces in Jordan, and deploying a handful of military and civilian officials to Baghdad to assist in the fight against Daesh, patrolling the Mediterranean, helping refugees, and screening for potential extremists in their midst. The alliance also has committed one of its AWACS, surveillance planes, to the fight in Iraq and Syria. And for those of you who don't know what an AWACS plane is, it is Airborne Warning and Control System. It's basically the plane with the big rotodome on the top. It's basically a flying radar station. That's what makes it so great. It can go anywhere. I think we've already had enough of a Middle Eastern update for today, so I'm going to skip over that region, except for two stories. You think our politicians are a little bit off the rails? A little bit out of whack? They ain't got nothing on Turkish politicians. A Turkish legislature handcuffed herself to Parliament's rostrum on Thursday to protest a reform package that would give President Erdogan's office executive powers. The move sparked fighting between women legislators who were seen slapping each other. Independent legislator Aylin Nazalika attached herself to the microphone, forcing Parliament's deputy speaker to twice call a recess and halt debate on the draft constitutional amendments for more than an hour. During the recess, a group of women legislators from Erdogan's ruling party tried to convince Nazlika to end her protest, while counterparts from the opposition pro-Kurdish party surrounded the rostrum to support her. It is the third time that deliberations on the proposed amendments gave way to brawls. So their parliament is more politics MMA style? I'm not sure. But like I said, U.S. politicians, when it comes to chaos, ain't got nothing on the Turkish ones. Now there has been a tragedy in Tehran. Yes, I'm going to mention a tragic story in Tehran. And for once, it doesn't involve anybody being sent to prison. It doesn't involve torture or anything of the sort. Tehran's iconic Plasko building collapses after a fire. There's 30 firefighters have been reported dead. Dozens of firefighters were killed when a high-rise building collapsed after a blaze in Iran's capital. Iranian authorities haven't confirmed, but it's been reported that it's a minimum of 30. When I last checked on this, the rescue was underway. At least 75 people, including 45 firefighters, had been injured. Local media in Tehran has said that more than 200 firefighters were on the scene at the time of the building's collapse. The tower is attached to a multi-story shopping mall located just north of the city's sprawling bazaar. No one's quite sure how the fire began, but the reports are it started on the 9th floor. It was mostly a commercial building, and a number of businesses in the building are believed to be involved in textile and garment industries. The owner of a nearby grocery store who spoke by phone to one of the news agencies said it was like a horror movie. The building collapsed in front of me. Police had cordoned off the British and Turkish embassies, which are situated near the tower. The tower was built... You ready for this one? The tower was built in the early 1960s by an Iranian Jewish businessman. Yes, I said Iranian Jewish businessman, because before the revolution in 1979, Iran was not a religious state. There was some religious freedom there. So the tower was built in the early 1960s by Iranian businessman Habib Elgahan and named after his plastics manufacturing company. It was the tallest building in the city at the time of its construction. Elgahan was tried on charges that included espionage and executed in the months after the 1979 Islamic Revolution that brought the current ruling system to power. And that is when many members of the country's long-standing Jewish community fled. My, oh my, where does the time go? All right. Moving on to Korea. And I'm saying Korea because I got one story on the north and one story on the south and 5 on the north. The ruling judge, Cho Yi-yeon, appeared to put to rest, at least for the time being, the prospect of jail for Lee Ji-young, one of South Korea's most powerful businessmen, whose company's tentacles extend deep into daily life. Cho's ruling did not exonerate Lee and appeared to leave open the possibility a future arrest could be sought. Okay, this is about the Samsung guy. Okay, remember Samsung smartphones? The ruling was a relief for the company, but regardless of how Cho had ruled, analysts said the allegations against Lee are unlikely to deeply harm his brand's main global business, selling useful devices to consumers. Samsung is by far South Korea's largest company and may be its best-known world's top smartphone. I'm not so sure about best known, but anyway. Lee, the grandson of Samsung's late founder, holds the title of vice chairman but is considered the top executive and heir apparent at Samsung. Prosecutors had sought his arrest on charges he improperly directed about $36 million to firms associated with the confidant of Park Geun-hye, the president of South Korea, who has been impeached and we're waiting on a court ruling to formally remove her from office. Broader political scandal unfolding in South Korea, which could ensnare other leaders who have admitted a connection to the president's confidant, might also lead policymakers here to seek regulatory changes. The leaders of such conglomerates who, with government acquiescence, have lifted the country's economy from the ashes of the Korean War and transformed it into an Asian powerhouse, and have long been given a measure of immunity from legal accountability. Many have been charged with misdeeds only to receive presidential pardons or light sentences in the name of economic progress. Some observers wonder whether the economy first sentiment is as resonant today with South Koreans, many of whom are struggling with income inequality. High household debt, and of course frustration with the political system. Don't those challenges sound familiar? They do to me. Income inequality, high household debt, and frustration with the political system. You could write that sentence about some people in this country. All right, on to the lunatic in the North. Yeah, that's just my stack of North Korean stories. Is North Korea about to welcome Donald Trump into office with its first ever ICBM, Intercontinental Ballistic Missile, ICBM, test? Oh yes. Early Thursday morning, an unnamed South Korean military official told the news that they had spotted 2 North Korean ICBMs mounted on road mobile launchers. This suggests that Pyongyang is readying itself for its first ever ICBM test. The North Korean Foreign Ministry had announced that the country could carry out the test anytime and anywhere, as determined by the Supreme Headquarters of the DPRK. Now, if you are a regular listener to this show, you will know that when I heard about this test, I said the 2 most likely dates were January 8th, Kim Jong-un's birthday, or January 20th, Donald Trump's inauguration day. The missile observed was different from the conventional Musudan missile in its length and shape. It's possible they were moving it somewhere for assembly, They're saying that the half observed is too large for a KN08 or a KN14, which measures 19 to 20 meters. Means 19 meters for the bigger one and 17 to 18 meters for the smaller one. There is a very active open source community of North Korean watchers working to verify the claims that the missile has been seen. While plenty of questions remain about this possible third ICBM prototype in North Korea's inventory, the prospect of a North Korean ICBM test looks increasingly real. So I think they're going to do it, and I think they're going to do it right around Inauguration Day. Or shortly thereafter. Now, a couple other stories about it with a couple of other interesting points. U.S. intelligence satellites have picked up signs of activity at North Korea's Chamjin missile factory southwest of Pyongyang. And the U.S. believes that could signal preparations for some type of ballistic missile test in the first days or weeks of the Trump administration. There is no clear understanding of if and when a launch might happen, what type of missile could be involved, and how many missiles might be launched. One official says it's believed the launch could come from mobile launchers, which means there could be a launch with little or no notice. An ICBM test in the coming days is highly plausible, according to Andrei Lankov, a professor at Seoul's Kumkin University. Judging by earlier behavior, they usually like to greet a newly elected American president with some kind of nice surprise, like a nuclear test or a missile launch. And the U.S.-based monitoring service 38 North warned of increased activity at the Yongbang nuclear site, which may indicate North Korea is attempting to produce more plutonium to fuel future nuclear weapons. So North Korea is getting to be scary, folks. It really is. All right, I've only got about a minute and a half left. And I'm going to cover this one story, then I'm going to make my way out of here, because the Jen and Rick show is hot on my heels. Protesters and pro-Arab groups are calling on the Israeli government to investigate the circumstances surrounding a deadly clash between police and Bedouin villagers. This week they killed a police officer. The clash took place in the Bedouin village al-Hiran in the southern Negev desert on Wednesday. Israeli courts issued a ruling agreeing with the government that the Bedouin villagers who have fled in the al-Hiran since they were relocated there in 1950 did not have legal claim to the land. In the wake of the ruling, police issued a string of warnings for villagers to disperse before their homes were demolished. So, again, this is over land in the Middle East. Alright, folks. As a reminder, you can always find me on Twitter at Jessie's POV. And you can also email me at the station, jessiespov@klrnradio.com. And on that note, folks, I'm out of here!